There is nothing better than starting your day with a beautiful long cup of black coffee. Black as the night on a moonless night. And then we have pancakes. Make sure all that syrup is over. Now, going to talk about Twin Peaks. Just imagine that we're at a roadhouse diner, and in the middle of the Pacific Northwest, and that noise you hear outside is loggers cutting down trees, but we're all safe and warm inside this diner. And now, let's talk a bit about Twin Peaks. I think I first watched Twin Peaks, I remember seeing the whole collection of video cassettes at my local video store. And when they were all lined up, they all said Twin Peaks through all the binders. And this intrigued me. I didn't know about David Lynch at all. So I think I was a fan of the X-Files, and I think I heard that it was somewhat like the X-Files. So I hired the first episode, the pilot and the first few episodes out, and I was blown away by this really kooky show. And by the first episode, you're absolutely hooked on this mystery of who killed Laura Palmer. And every episode gets weirder, but you also grow accustomed to the absurdity of the place. And, well, I think it's just a beautiful show. And we had to wait. Well, the show was cancelled in 1992, I think, after 2 seasons. And then there was a movie called Fire Walk With Me. And I didn't like it the first time I saw it, but I watched it recently, and it is a cinematic masterpiece. And then I did become a David Lynch fan, I watched the whole Twin Peaks, and then I was a real big David Lynch fan, and then out of the blue in 2015 they announced that Twin Peaks was going to return. But as I remember now, you could not find out any information at all. There was no set leaks, nothing at all. So we waited, and 2017 came around, and there was Twin Peaks: The Return. No one had any idea what to expect. But Dale Cooper was still stuck in the lodge, and we needed to know how he got out. We wanted to know what happened to all our favorite characters. And it turned out to be kind of like the original, but there was something new about it. Something different. Something very weird. But if you watched it, you grew accustomed to it, and you became hooked. And it was a weird, beautiful experience. I just find that the Black Lodge is one of the most amazing concepts ever. And I think I read that the way David Lynch came up with it was he was editing Wild at Heart, I think, or it could have been another film, and he had walked out to his car in the Los Angeles sun, and he touched his bonnet or something on his car, and maybe it was red, and he just touched it, and he came up with this idea of this red room, a room filled with like red curtains and zigzags, very weird room. I think that's how he came up with it. I have these two books. Twin Peaks. Secret History of Twin Peaks. And Twin Peaks: The Final Dossier. And we're gonna read through these just as I finish this last pancake. I'm gonna try and make it the most amazing ASMR experience you have ever witnessed. I think what I loved most about this show, the original and the new one, was the way they ate, and they they appreciated food. They didn't just gobble it down. You actually had an appreciation for like the cherry pie and everything in the diner. I think the diner was the best, and the the Great Northern, when Dale Cooper would have breakfast there, and he would just appreciate the taste and the smell of the coffee in the morning. I think that's what we all need to do. Stop being in such a hurry. And savor these little things. You would love the smell of the pine trees, and a lot of the locals just thought of it as nothing, but he could really appreciate it for being an outsider. That's some damn fine coffee. Okay. So, which book will we go through? Twin Peaks: The Return. The final dossier. Well, let's just have a browse through this book. Let's just have a bit of a skim through it. It doesn't really. I think it's more of a explanation of kind of what the final reports of being back in Twin Peaks. Very not kind of what I expected, but still, it's Twin Peaks, so you have to appreciate it. There's not any pictures in that one, but I think the better read is this one, Secret History. Whoops. Andrew Packard. Robert Jacoby. Our tale begins when three families originally tied their fortunes to the fair, abundant forests which mantled the virgin hills and byways that lay between Whitetail and the Blue Pine Mountains. I hope this is in focus. James Packard arrived first, eldest son of a Boston shipping family. Alerted by his Harvard roommate, one of the Weyerhaeuser boys about the wealth of natural resources that lay west of the Rockies and north of the Columbia River. Inspired by a vision, Packard traveled west and, moved by its natural beauty and untouched trees, laid claim to 10,000 acres around Whitetail Falls in 1890. Once the railroad built a spur line from Spokane to connect Packard's mill to the Northern Pacific, the Packard Timber Company became the economic engine for the town that sprang up around his burgeoning business, the town of Twin Peaks. I just love the Great Northern as well, and how Audrey used to sneak through the walls and everything, and listen, eavesdrop and everything on her dad. We have a lot of, it really does go through the history of Twin Peaks. And a lot of other things as well. And I was just talking to a friend the other day about, I was going to rewatch The Return, and yeah, I was just remembering what it was about that show. It was the weirdest things, and how it all ended. I still don't know completely, and I'm not going to ruin it for you. But there was so many interesting storylines in The Return, and you just never knew if Dale Cooper was going to wake up. And you didn't know how. I still don't know what the ending means. I'm gonna have to rewatch it. But it's good. It's better to be ambiguous and leave things open-ended than having a concrete ending to everything. That's what I find. Twin Peaks for me still is as mysterious as it was from the first day I saw it in the video store, staring back at me. And that's the magic of Twin Peaks, is that nothing is ever answered. And I guess that's the genius of David Lynch, is that he doesn't explain anything. And it's probably the reason why I've watched Mulholland Drive about 100 times, is because there's no final answer. You can have all these people interpreting it, but it's really up to you. I think he said it best when he goes, it's like a dream. You interpret your dream a different way than someone else would. It's like he's showing his dream, but you're taking your versions from it. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this. I don't know what kind of accent I was putting on. It's kind of all over the place, but I hope you enjoyed this ASMR video, and I'm going to enjoy some coffee. And yes, I think we are coming to the end of this video. Goodbye.